welcome back to another episode of Afrobeat Life Hot Seat. Usually we bring you the big artists, the entertainment world, but sometimes we have to get serious. We have to talk about what's going on. And the biggest thing going on right now in our county, in our ward, is the county election. Today we have a special guest with us. But before we go to the special guest, I want to introduce you to my co-host for tonight. She's not new face. She's back. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Miss Paula Obaseki.
Hey guys, it's your girl Princess Paula Obaseki of Atokwe. You said so good to be back. Thank you for having me back in the studio.
How you doing? How you been?
Great. Busy. School
Work.
Career.
Nice. Are you ready for summer?
Oh, I've been ready. I have been waiting. This weather, this rain needs to go. I need sun, tan, even though I don't need it, but I need to have fun.
You want the tan?
Yes.
I feel you. So, without further ado, let's welcome our guest for tonight. She's running for Prince George's County District Delegate election. Yes. Please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Miss Wala Belge.
Blagay.
I know I was gonna mess up.
Welcome.
It's
Welcome
fine.
to the studio. How are you?
I am doing good. You know, this has been so encouraging. Today, I just left a business owner's home who had said he had had enough and he was ready for change. And it was just empowering to just know that when I've been knocking on doors, we've knocked on close to 9,000 doors.
Wow.
And what we found is that people are ready for something new.
Yes.
And I've been encouraged by this entire process, and I am very optimistic that we will win come June 26th.
Woohoo.
Okay, that's great. So meanwhile, you seeing it, share with your link, share with your neighbors, share with your friends so that they can be informed about what's going on in our county, what's going on in our ward. This is our home. So tell us about District 25, right?
Right.
What does that cover? What area of the county?
District 25 covers the central of Prince George's County and some parts of southern of Prince George's County. So we're going from Capitol Heights, District Heights, Forestville, Largo, to the biggest parts of Upper Marlboro. So around, we're actually in District 25.
Yeah, we're in Upper Marlboro right now.
So we're in District 25, and then we go down to Clinton and Temple Hills, and some parts of a small part of Camp Springs. We also have Mitchellville.
Oh, okay.
So,
My mom lives in Mitchellville,
Yeah.
so we're all in the same area.
Yeah.
So, Ms. Legay, tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your background? How did you, where'd you go to school? Where were you born? And because I know Legay is not a very, common name. I don't know.
So I would tell everybody my background. So my father is Liberian, right?
Okay.
So Blagay is a Liberian name. My first name is Wala Kenwan, which means according to God's gift. I was a miracle child. And my mom actually is Nigerian. She's from, for those in Nigeria, those are watching Nigerian, she's from Owerri. Ebu, which is not too far away from Owerri. And my middle name is Onyechi.
Nice.
The truth is, and kind of been telling this story all over my district in Prince George's County. But basically, I was a miracle child. My parents were trying to have a child and were told by a doctor that they could not have one. Like many families, they prayed. They got on their knees and prayed. And God brought me, and that was something that my parents always reminded me while I was growing up. They said that you are a miracle child. You have to give back. You have to make a difference. At that time, when I was born, my dad was thinking of going back to Liberia because, he said, okay, I have, opportunities were here, but he thought of going back home. But then the Civil War broke out.
Wow.
And that really made it difficult for him. And so he would always remind me, see what happened in Liberia, you don't want that to happen in your own place. This is your home. There's a lot of opportunity here. So I took that very seriously. When I was young, my parents were very involved locally in some of the African groups in Washington, D.C. at the time. So we got involved with Manberry and Charlene Drew Drivers and some of the local elected officials in the Washington, D.C. area. But things changed. I moved to Maryland. I moved to Prince George's County. Actually, I've actually been in District 25 since really 2001.
Okay.
When I moved here in Suitland at the time, which is also a part of District 25, and I went when I went to college. I went to University of Maryland. I'm a Terp.
Oh.
Terp. And when I went to University of Maryland, that was really where I learned the full engagement. I got involved with the NAACP. I was the vice president of the chapter there, really active, where we focused on some of the discrimination issues on campus. And I learned activism there. It really, through NAACP, was really allowed me to spread my wings. We were focused on voter registration. I remember even, I remember being in my dorm one day, and some of the white fraternity guys came in asking, if we could braid their hair for some pimps and hoes party, and we were not having it because we knew that was mocking African Americans. And we actually, when I actually wrote an email to the administration. At that time, I was an active member of the Black Student Union, and we, we were able to actually put some light on issues on campus. At that time, I actually interned in the Maryland General Assembly, and I worked for a very young delegate at the time. His name was Justin Ross, and he was 26 years old.
Wow.
You believe it? And he was like, I don't see many young people here. And he had first got elected at 22. And he was like, it's time. I know, right?
That's amazing.
He's like amazing. Like he's he's like the one of the best political minds I know. Even now, he's a lobbyist now, and he's very knowledgeable. I talked to him for like 2 minutes. I'm like, wow, that was actually good. I should do that. But he was really like, we need more young people. So that's when I got super involved. I got involved with Young Democrats after that. I worked on a couple of campaigns. I worked for some elected officials that are well known today. And I learned the ropes. And I actually worked in the General Assembly even afterwards in one session in 2007 where I learned the politics of Annapolis and why we need new fresh faces, really, because sometimes people get comfortable in the way things are and then they don't push and fight because they're like, this is how it is. So I continue my advocacy with the Maryland Legislative Agenda for Women fighting against domestic violence. I continued working on pay equity issues. I continue my advocacy with the NAACP. We focus on legal redress, making sure that we focus on discrimination in the workplace, and that was something that was really important. I also got involved with I was appointed to the Prince George's County Human Relations Commission.
Okay.
And there we adjudicated discrimination in the workplace, but also I was able to start the Human Trafficking Task Force. And that was important because we were finding, law enforcement reached out to me, letting me know that they were opening homes and finding beds with girls in them.
So before you move forward, I just want to thank everybody that's logged in on Facebook Live, Abiodun Power, Kyle Mashallah, Governor Adoni Ade, BB, and everybody else. Thank you guys for logging in. Please share with your neighbor. We're talking about what's important in our community. I know tonight is not the regular entertainment show that you guys are used to, but this is very, very important. Take this time to share with your neighbor, share with your friends. If you have any question, feel free to call in at 202-681-0389. That's 681-0389. It's right there on the screen. So you can also text in the question to that number, or actually just put it right on Facebook. We're ready. So, I'm sorry for interrupting. I just wanted to let everybody know what's going on.
Totally fine.
So, and you've done a lot of work. Have you ever held a political office before that?
I have not.
Okay.
I have not. At this point, I'm running really because I started my show Chat with the Lawyer. And Chat with the Lawyer was started because many people said people in the community needed to know their legal rights.
Mm-hmm.
How do we do that? So I started Chat with the Lawyer in collaboration with the City of District Heights. And we started the show that started playing all throughout Prince George's County. And people came to me and said, we need the lawyers in our community. One of the key issues is that most of the people wanted to sue some part of the government because they weren't getting answers.
Wow.
One of the biggest things we worked on was the District Heights Elementary School. Parents there, and this started even when I did my investigation, I found out that this started long before. There was mold in the school. And what they found, found is that the principals, the principal had actually reached out to facilities a couple years before because she noticed that there was a problem. But, it was growing, the problem was growing at the time. And then when we met with the staff actually started getting sick. So they sent some letters to, because they weren't getting responses from the actual administration, so they sent letters to the state asking for help. Now, still nothing was done. So finally, this got to the parents. So the parents started knowing something was wrong with their kids. They actually got really frustrated when, after they had been told a number of times nothing was wrong, and then the staff was actually secretly telling them to report because, you know, we can't do it because they felt like there was retaliation. They started reaching out to people like me asking for help. So we connected them with lawyers. Let me tell you, these parents not only reached out to lawyers, they reached out to media, and they were screaming. Yep. I remember that. I never forget, because when we walked in that room, people were just so upset because they felt like, somebody was like, if we were white, it would not be like this. And it's a reality. That's a reality. But here's the thing. This isn't even, we can't blame a white man for this, right? No. Because who's heading our school system? Well, you have a white man at the top who is CEO. But the point is, reality is, it's still African Americans. So the point is that these parents had to get lawyers to get answers. Now, let me tell you, a couple weeks later, there was a truck Saturday morning cleaning out that mold. The mold that they claim never existed. But the problem is that a lot of families in our community are going through this. They feel frustrated when parents that have children with disability, they often have to get lawyers and advocates now. In fact, we have to even warn about certain advocates not to go to, because people often have to get them to get the answers that they need. And they even have school officials telling them, get the lawyer and things will move. And what we're doing, this is our tax dollars at work. Yeah.
So sorry, not to interrupt you again. We just got a text from one of our watchers, and they're asking, what is the job? Can you define the job of a delegate?
A delegate passes laws for most of the state, for the state of Maryland. And I would say that it's hard to actually say what we can't do, because most of the things, most of the laws in the state, we have some impact on. Now, certain things, I can tell you what is not within the jurisdiction.
Okay.
And like I said before, even that, you can actually find a way that the state can be involved. So, like, people are concerned about, like, trash pickup, right? Like, those things are, like, county issues, right? Even county roads are run by the county, even zoning. But then on the other hand, we can provide guidelines even for zoning on the state level. So, like, for instance, a state can determine where a school goes, or where residential area versus business. But the state can actually put in rules of what needs to be considered for certain projects, right? The state can do that. So, like, there's something that I'm going to be pushing is, like, smart growth. Smart growth basically says, this is where I am now in Upper Marlboro is one of the bigger problems. Like, smart growth, so first of all, they just keep throwing houses up. Houses. No type of thoughtful development about, like, what should the community look like. Right. So what we could do is we could make requirements that you can't build unless, if you can't go to open land, because one of the things about Upper Marlboro, it's a lot of open space.
Yeah.
So they keep throwing houses in open space. Well, you can't go to open space if you already have areas that are already sort of developed that have not been fully developed. And that smart growth can actually, that state legislature can push the county to have certain requirements. So those are things those are limitations that we have as a state, but the state can, determine even speed limits, and, people talk about marijuana, what's in the car, or racial profiling, those type of things. A lot of those things are state laws. We impact what police, right? A lot of that is state. Now, how much the police get paid and all that, they negotiate that with the county. Okay. But we determine, like, the laws of, like, how their interaction with you, what your rights are, that type of thing. So just about anything that you deal with in the state has been passed by the General Assembly. Now, I would say that the House of Delegates is only one of the houses, much like Congress. There's two houses. So the state delegate, actually, you find a lot of things actually pass through the state delegate, the House of Delegates, and then they get to the Senate and it goes nowhere. And that's because the House of Delegates has more people. So it's easier to pass more things. There's 3 delegates per district.
Gotcha.
So it's more people. But then when you get to the state, it's much smaller. So it can really stop things. So be careful who you vote for Senate, because Senate, it can be the place where, a lot of things,
go to die.
It could go to die.
So you're saying, sorry, go ahead. So you said 3 delegates, right? Mm-hmm. How many seats are out for grab? How many incumbents?
It's 3, because here's the thing. There are 2 incumbents are running. So technically, I see it as, there's 1 opening, but technically it's 3 openings, meaning that there's no guarantee that the incumbents will return. So all the seats are up for grab. Like from the county, all of the state seats are up for grab. All the county seats are up for grab. Even if incumbents are running for re-election, for state delegate, there's 3 seats. 2 incumbents are running for re-election, but their names are not put on the seat. So basically, the top 3 voters, the top vote getters, 3
Go get elected.
get elected.
Okay, so speaking of, being careful who you vote for and stuff like that, why should we vote for you?
Well, and one of the reasons I've been reaching out to a lot of the African community,
Yes.
and one of the reasons why is because at this point we have like no representation.
True.
And one of the things I've watched a lot of African community, like when it comes to African, like it comes to the immigration issue, right? People only see the Latino community. That's the only thing that they say. Oh, those are people going through immigration problems.
Yeah.
That's not true.
That's
I got a
true.
call today because as a guy and I believe he's a doctor. He lives in he's from Central Africa and he is about to get deported.
Wow.
And and actually a couple weeks ago I was going to I was going to actually speak before the county council because there was going to be funding for immigration services, right? And this was I think they gave $100,000 for legal services. That's something that I really focus a lot on, and the reason why is because first of all, Chat with the Lawyer also came because of this. Now, in 2007, I was getting actively involved, and a couple of people in the Liberian community reached out to me and said, look, we're about to get deported because the TPS, the Temporary Status Program, is about to expire. Our status is going to leave. Now, understand, this program was created back in the 90s, right? In the early 90s. So these people have actually been in the United States for now 20 years. Their kids, you know what I mean? Like, they're going to lose everything. And we had to go to, we actually were able, at the time, the Democrats were the majority. We reached out to Steny Hoyer, who I knew very well, the congressman who was a majority leader at the time, and he helped out, and also Chris Van Hollen. We reached out to a lot of the elected officials asking them for help, and that was extended. Now, come now to 2017, again, it expired, but this time we had Trump in office, and Trump was not willing to extend it. So we had to get lawyers, and I connected some people with lawyers so that the lawyers could look for ways to extend their status. But those are the things that go on in the African community that no one talks about. And we need support for that. They're looking at giving funding for legal services for people who are going to get deported. Africans will benefit from that. But also, beyond that, we have a lot of business owners in the African community who come here. There's a lot of opportunities. We have downtown Largo coming up in Upper Marlboro. How many African business leaders are at that table?
That's true because statistically, I think 30 to 40% of business in Puget County is owned by African,
Right.
but we don't go to the meetings.
Well, we're not invited. And one of the reasons why, and it's not like they're saying you can't come through the door.
But
I'm just saying, it's not that they're not telling us you can't come through the door, but if you don't have anybody that's in the room saying, make sure African business owners are in the room.
Wow.
And what African business over and over again, you will hear this from it's a lot of Africans running this year, and you will hear this over and over again. I remember this in 2010. A couple of business owners not business owners, but African leaders sat at the table.
I'm going to make the mic a little bit closer to you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
A couple of African leaders reached out, and we all sat at the table, sat among them. And African leaders were like, I'm tired. We are tired of being ignored.
Wow.
And what they did was they decided we're going to pick a elected official that we like, and we're going to put money into them and help them. The problem is that when they're not from the place that you are, they didn't grow up in your household, they don't know what you go through. They're going to take your vote just like they take the next person's vote. So at the end of the day, when they got in, all African leaders were mad because now they're not getting the full attention, they're not getting the opportunity that they want. And why is that? Because those people have no connection with them, right? They just took your money, they just went to your house party, they got the vote that they need there in office. They have connections to others. We need to get our own in because our own can never really just turn their back on us because it's personal, right? And I want to make sure that when business opportunities come, we have African business owners that are there to accept it, and more than just one. When immigration issues come up, when funding for immigration issues come up, the African organizations are getting that. so that we don't have to run to other organizations like Latino organizations, which is nothing wrong because I've been endorsed by Casa de Maryland. We all want to work together, but we realize that some things are unique to our group, and we should get that. The biggest one is nonprofits, and that's the one where you've had a lot of frustration from a lot of African nonprofit owners. They have said that, like, there is a lot of things that they're doing for the African community. But because the people who are in office are not part of the African community, they don't value it. They don't see it. And so you're not going to get the funding that you want. You're not going to get the attention that you need without you making it. And you know what? I would say some other immigrant groups have got it. They understand the process. The process is, in order for people to think about you, you have to be in the room. And it's time for us to change the African mentalities, because a lot of Africans have so focused on home. Like, in fact, you go to...
So why you saying that? Look at the camera and make sure you tell them, because you're on the biggest African platform in Pigeon County.
Yeah. Many Africans are too focused on home. You're here.
This is your home. This is our home.
Right. This is your home.
We live here. We work here. Our kids are being raised here.
Right. So it's to me. I watch in the Nigerian elections and the Liberian elections. I watch all of the Liberian and Nigerian Americans we have here spend so much money on this election. They're going back, and it's just like, if we took the time to do the same here, we could help our people more home if we build here.
Yes.
Instead of just saving up. The idea is that we have to really look to build ourselves, our influence in this country. Yeah. Because if we don't, then we're doing our entire community a disservice. If you're just gonna work here, get a paycheck, put it in your savings account, and then build your house at home and go home, you're not helping.
True.
And then just
For you guys that are watching from home, this is a lot of stuff. I know it's a lot of information, but if you have specific questions, feel free to contact us. You can call in at 202-681-0389. Also, drop up a question on Facebook. Thank you, caller, for joining. Shy Bell, thank you. Tabby Fax, I'm sorry I can't thank everybody. We only have a short time, but I will truly appreciate you guys for joining. So, I know you're not running just for African. We're running for everybody. So, what would you say separates you from the other candidates that are running for the delegate's office? How many, by the way? How many people?
It's about 8.
It's about 8. Running for 3 offices.
One for 3 seats.
That's tight.
Yeah.
That's
so
tight.
It's definitely and what separates me is my advocacy. Now, I would say that, a lot of people are running to run. Some people are running simply because they were asked to join a team, a ticket, right? But the difference is that my advocacy for years in the community has shown my dedication, that my willingness to run is not just about getting a position. It is really about making a difference. And I've done this in my capacity as an advocate, and even as an elected official, it'll be much more powerful, because now I'm tired of going to people who are supposed to represent us and saying, why did you vote on this bill a certain way? Why haven't you represented our community? The biggest issue in Prince George's County now is education, right? If we don't improve our education system, we cannot get the economic development that we need. We can't. We really can't thrive and even call ourselves this great
county. And as African, we're
right.
all big on education.
Right.
That's like African biggest
right.
thing.
Right.
So
right.
definitely I agree with you on that.
Right. And so here's the thing. In Annapolis, if you look at this past General Assembly, no education bills passed.
Wow.
And you have elected officials in office telling you that they care about education. And you're getting mailers in your mail where somebody's focusing on education and why education is important for our kids. But yet and still there was a bill about have mandatory smaller classroom sizes. That didn't pass. You had a bill about making sure that we put the elected, the hybrid school board that we have now to an all-elected school board. That didn't pass. And it didn't pass, and there were a lot of bills about school governance, because that's what the state can deal with school governance. Now, there's some things that are only for the school board, right? That goes into jurisdiction issues. But the reality is that if we are so committed to this, why is this happening? That's happening because in Prince George's County, we simply don't pay attention. We keep electing the same people blindly. And then they're now voting. They did not vote because they were told by some man who does not live in this county that they cannot put any education bills forward. That's the reality. That's a real thing. And the reason why they did it is because nobody wanted to remove the money that comes from the slates, the establishment. So they wanted to make sure that the money flow continues. And they did not want to have somebody said, look, I'm not going to be a target. For what? And the reality is that now I see why they don't care, because now people still don't know who to vote for. And I'm like, you're voting for the same people that you keep complaining about the school system. Something has to change about the school system. That's what you hear every day. But then yet and still you've got elected officials that have done nothing about the school system and you still voting them in.
Speaking of elected officials, what is your opinion? I want to make sure I phrase this the right way. Paula, help me out. We have the county executive election, we have the delegates and everything else. What do you feel about the county election? County executive election.
Well, and here's the thing. I know all of the candidates very well. And I would say this, it's not about the candidates, because the candidates, to a certain extent, all of them want the best for the county, right? But the reality is that money is what actually controls election. I think we've learned from especially the election with the Trump election, with the Hillary versus Bernie. One of the things I am pushing is small donor. At this point, the only way that we could take back our politics, the only way we could take back our county is by not voting for people who have corporate interests funding them. Because no matter what, even if you want to make a change, if you're accepting corporate money, if you're in this, and for a larger thing, we talk about corporate money on a federal level, right? Yeah. These are Wall Street type money, that type of thing. But in the local election, it is developers. Because developers have to keep the money flow. I mean, I just met with, like I said, I just came from a homeowner of a business owner. I knocked on his door. And he was saying that he owns a construction company. He has lived in the county for 30 years. And he said that he can just count on his fingers how many contracts that he's won. Wow. But if you look at that, if you look at the process of where the money, of who's getting these contracts, you can look at that and see where these people come from. Wow. They don't live here. They do business here. And they go elsewhere to their homes in Montgomery County and down Southern Maryland, Howard County. But they're getting the contracts. Now, why are they getting it? Because if you look at the campaign finance reports, your questions will be answered. Yeah. They're getting it because they're giving the money to the candidates. The candidates are accepting it. And at the end of the day, money, I'm telling you, campaigns are expensive. It's been expensive for me. It's been very expensive for us. And I'm running against a team that has 200,000 plus. And we've only raised 70,000. I can't raise 200,000. I don't have that ability because we're doing small donor. We don't have corporate interests bankrolling my campaign. Wow. But the reality is that it's hard to compete with someone. When we're looking at a couple of mailers to the community, our opponents are sending 15 to 20 mailers. How? Because they got the money. And the reality is that has to be something that we need to focus on. So I ask people that are looking at these local elections, from the county executive down to the delegate, look at who these people are funded. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, if we want education bills could get passed if people didn't feel that their money would run dry if they didn't vote for the proper
So bill. Speaking of education, we got a question on Facebook from Shayi Hopewell. Thank you for tuning in. Shayi says, who is your vote for Board of Education?
Who is for Board of Education? I most likely will be. There is an activist in my community who's running for Board of Education, Belinda Queen, and she has done quite a bit in the community. She does really care about the community. I know she also, like myself, has been endorsed by the teachers union. And reasons why is because the teachers union actually, they're taking a different stance
You
now.
said that's Belinda Quinn?
Yes.
Okay.
They're taking a stance now. The teachers union taking a stance now, and one of the reasons why is because the teachers have gotten barely a raise. I mean, they've got very small raises in the last couple years. A teacher was telling me that they don't even have to live in. They live in this county. They can go to DC and make $20,000 to $30,000 more. The reality is that in Prince George's County, we're a training ground. All of the jurisdictions start off around the same amount. So in DC, Montgomery County, and Prince George's, they all start out around $67,000 or some sort.
Yeah.
But then what happens is that in other jurisdictions, they just start to move up rapidly, and they start to move up, and Prince George's County just goes slowly. So you can imagine we're not keeping the best talent in this county because they're moving to other places so they can make more money. And another problem, even in the school system, that I wanted to focus on is that in order for you to make more money in the school system, you have to actually leave the classroom. That doesn't make sense. Because if you leave the classroom, you have to go to an administration job or something like that in order to double your salary. So if you decide that you want to stay in the classroom and just be a teacher, you're actually limiting your salary. So there has to be another way that we can implement it.
Is that a Prince George's County problem, or that's a problem nationwide?
Well, it's a problem actually nationwide.
Okay.
But here's the thing is that it actually plays up a lot in Prince George's County because they're paid a lot lower than someone in administration. They're already paid a lot lower than surrounding jurisdictions. But it looks like now recently, if you all saw the news, you all saw that they were giving a small adjustment to some people in administration, and the teachers union came after the CEO because he did that. Now he was saying that he was just adjusting the salary, but part of the slap in the face is that they had just finished negotiations and everybody was going to get around a 2% raise. The salary that they saw increase were people who worked in the central office, and the central office, those salaries went up 6%. It was in order for them to level the salary to their counterparts. But the problem with that is that, when you got people that are getting paid so low compared to their, and in Prince George's County, it's getting hard to live without making a decent salary.
Yeah.
And that's like a big issue for a lot of people, is that if you're living in a county where you have to make close to six figures to be comfortable. At this point, affordable housing is becoming the biggest issue in Prince George's County now because of the surrounding development in the district.
Yeah.
Basically, a lot of the places that were more affordable, like Capitol Heights, District Heights, Forestville, are now becoming more expensive. I was even telling someone when my dad first moved to District Heights, Forestville, his apartment was around $800, right? Now it's close to $1,500.
Wow.
So it like double it. And it's purposely done because they want to make sure that the Southeast community looking for another place doesn't move to their area. So they're increasing the salary.
So I want to stay in this education realm a little bit because that's one of my main, concern. Now, why are we not funding the schools? Why are the teachers getting? Is it because of money? Because I heard that if we bring the MGM grant to PJ County, there's going to be a lot of money. That's why it got approved in the first place. All this lottery money and all these things. What is the problem? Do we need to pass more? Because I know how much we pay county tax for houses and real estate.
Right.
We're one of the highest in the state. If not, it's the highest.
Right. Well, here's the thing. Starting off, we didn't get very much money from MGM. So that goes to the problem that we have with this county overall. We came to the table to the table begging. I mean, with the MGM, there was a lot of problems with that. First of all, MGM came out, I think I was reading $179 million. That's how much MGM made. The state got 38 million. That's all they got. 38 million went to the state. Now, what the trick is that what they didn't say when we voted for Question 7, we were told that this was all going to go into our school system.
Yeah.
What they didn't tell you is that it was going to go to a state general fund. So the money went, not the county, right? So the county actually only got 14 million, according to one of the school board members. 14 million was and Ed Burrows. I've got to give it to him. That's a good friend of mine. But Ed Burrows is one of the hardest working school board members on that school board because he is putting out the truth. He was like, no, don't let people fool you. We only got 14 million.
Wow.
38 million went to a general fund. The general fund goes. So that means that MGM money goes to Montgomery County. It goes to Howard County, Hartford, Wacomico. I mean, it goes all over. So it doesn't just go to Prince George's County. So we get the biggest bulk, but we're funding other counties. So here's the thing about it is that why couldn't someone negotiate to make sure that we could get more, because they're making crazy money at MGM and we're getting pennies.
So as a delegate, would you have advantage or opportunity to be part of that change?
Right. So what we could do is, first of all, what I've committed to is diversifying the funding for the school system. So there was just the current commission just came out. There's a new commission because the one before was Thornton Commission. And the current commission was focused on, they went around all over the state meeting with different groups about how to improve the school system. So that's going to be the new funding formula. Okay. So according to that funding formula, we are underfunded severely. We need about $3 billion plus in order to really change the school. But the problem is that we need to make sure that it doesn't just come out of residential taxes. Now, I cannot tell you how many doors I've knocked on where people are just saying, they're like, where is, why is my taxes so high? I don't want to wear.
I can raise my hand. I can actually say a question. Let me be the first one to say yes. I second that.
Yeah, so that's like the biggest issue people have. Why is my taxes so high? And the reality is that because we're relying too heavily on residential taxes. Wow. First of all, one of the things we haven't done is we have not had substantial commercial development in this county. And that's the difference in Montgomery and Prince George. Everybody's trying to compare us to Montgomery County. Montgomery County has really built, especially when you look at downtown Silver Spring, they have built a lot when it comes to commercial development. So then that helps fund the school system. But in Prince George's County, we don't have that many commercial development. You see, we already got robbed from MGM, so we don't really get much money from that. And that's probably one of our highest, probably commercial development that we could tax for the school system. So we have to, first of all, look at increasing our commercial development, but also we can look at other ways to fund the school system. Now, there's a lot of corporate tax loopholes. Now, we're in one of the richest states in the country. People really don't realize that.
And this is the richest black country.
Right.
Yeah.
In the country.
That's another story.
Oh, really? Tell us more.
But the reality is that we have, we need to look at corporate loopholes. Like, there's a lot of corporations that are here that are not paying their fair share. We need to look at that. We also need to look, we're looking at marijuana, right? Medical marijuana. We need to look at that because we've legalized that here. And other ways that we can look at diversifying the tax base for the school system so we're not solely focused on property taxes, because people cannot, like this one woman said, I cannot get if $1 more I have to pay in my property taxes, I will not be able to survive. So that is a reality that we're living with right now. We have to address that. Now, I mean, I mentioned, the richest black county, that term. And what we realize is that a lot of people in this county have been, and I've been focusing on this issue as an advocate. I was on the Maryland Consumer Protection Coalition. And what we realize is that African American communities are heavily targeted. Because people know that, first of all, African American, we are in high debt in our county, because a lot of times not only do they target us as a community because they feel like we would spend easily, but they target our seniors so badly. We even having today, I was talking to a senior who was saying that so many of her friends have done reverse mortgages now, right? It's because they know they're in debt. They come and say, if you get out of debt, you do a reverse mortgage. And what that does, it just piles up the debt for them. So when they die, they have nothing to pass on to their kids because they don't own anything because they're in such high debt. So this is like something that's going on in Prince George's County that's happened so much. That's why when the foreclosure crisis happened, it hit us so badly, because we have been tricked by a lot of the predatory lenders that come in our community.
So Paula, you say you want to ask a question?
First of all, I'm soaking up all this information. It's so much there's so much that you don't know and you're not aware of, and all this is happening under your nose, and you're just like, it's not my business. But you see how important it is to know who you're voting for, what it is that you're voting for, and. Okay, so I know some people wanted to know some dates for the
primary. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So June 14th is early vote.
Okay.
That's when it
June
starts.
14th.
And you can vote at any poll that they have listed. So whether it's Upper Marlboro Community Center, Sports and Learning Complex, Wayne Curry, they even College Park, they have one. Bowie, they have one. At Suitland Community Center, and the sports rec center in Fort Washington. So you can go to any location and vote between June 14th and June 21st. So it's a whole week. And then Election Day is June 26th. Now, June 26th, you cannot vote anywhere. You have to vote at the poll that you're registered to.
So June 14th, early election.
Early vote.
I'm sorry, early
Vote.
and then the 26th.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. So we have about 10 minutes left before we go. Do you have any events coming up?
Yeah.
Anything that you want to share with us?
On your website,
At the end, we're still going to ask you how people can reach you, but anything coming up right now that you want people to know
we
about?
are really at close to the end. And we're going to be having first of all, we're going to be phone banking on Saturday. It's going to be raining.
Okay.
We have to reach out to voters now. That is the key for us. So if anybody's interested in phone banking on Saturday, or next week, we're going to have a big canvas where we're going to canvas the entire district.
Okay.
And we're going to be door knocking, and we're just going to get to the voters. We don't have enough time anymore. This is the time that we focus on getting to the voters. If people are interested in those, they can contact me directly. My phone number is 240 981-6324. They can contact me there.
Can you say that one more time, please?
It is 240 981.
981.
Okay, 63. Hold on, I'm sorry, because that's our campaign. Oh, I'm sorry, 240-681.
681.
9324.
9324. And after this show, we're going to edit the video and put it on YouTube. So when we put it on YouTube, we'll add the number to it. So
Yeah. Or they can email me at Wala, W-A-L-A, at WalaBlagay.com. Wala is W-A-L-A, B as in boy, L-E, G as in girl, A-Y.com.
Okay. And what are your social medias?
So you can, Wala
Look at the
Blagay, so you can go to Wala Blagay on Facebook. You can look me up there.
Yes.
Twitter, the same, Wala Blagay. It's all the same. And my website is WalaBlagay.com. So Wala and B-L-E, G as in girl, A-Y.
Okay.
But in general, I hope that I really hope that the African community will take this election seriously.
Yes. We have to.
This will change. This is going to be a turning. This is going to be a critical election in Prince George's County in the state of Maryland, because if we do not get anybody in office now, look, honestly, we're not going to have the openings that we have in the next 4 years. We have a lot of openings now because a lot of people are moving into different places. And frankly, some of the people are getting older. So we have a lot of openings, and it's time that we get our own representation in this county that we have so many Africans. So if people don't take this seriously, we are doing our community a disservice.
Okay. So I want to thank you. Before we wrap up, we always play a game. So this is still an entertainment. We gotta have fun before we get into the music and everything like that. Before we play the game, though, anything else that you haven't said that you wish to say, you want to say, you want to get out there, look at the camera, and just let them have it.
No, I think I've kind of sort of beat the drum on a lot of things that I have, but I really hope that you reach out to us. We're active campaign. We go door knocking every day. We make phone bank, reach out to voters every day. And we're just out there in the community. I mean, I wish I come here earlier. We could talk about a lot of the events because we were having events every month at one point. But we're now at the wire. It's now the end. And now we just have to focus on getting people to the polls. So I hope that you consider voting for me on June 14th, between June 14th and June 21st, and then also voting for me on June 26th.
So, the game,
Yes.
it's really fun. It's called rapid fire. So I'm gonna say something, and you gotta respond with the first thing that comes to your mind.
Don't think about it too much. It's the first thing.
Okay, I'm getting nervous.
First thing. I'll let Paula give it the first. Okay, let's give it a try. So Paula, go ahead.
Okay?
This is just a try.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Trump.
Evil.
You got it. You're on point. So let's do this.
Just like that, you won.
Let's do this. All right, you ready?
Okay.
Terps. Like Maryland Terp.
Oh, winners. I don't know.
Jack, like Jack Johnson. Skip. School. School.
What?
School.
Better kids, better quality education.
Sports.
Redskins.
PG.
Beautiful county that I hope to represent.
Music.
I love Afrobeats.
Election.
I will win.
Thank you.
I will win.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. It's been a great pleasure. Thank you for having me. And thank you for bringing your crew into the studio with us. We really appreciate you.
Campaign manager.
Yeah. What's your name, sir?
I'm David.
Hi, David.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate all the calls. We appreciate all the texts. Shay Hope well. Thank you for putting the dates. Those that send questions, I will respond to the ones that I can later on. There's just a lot going on right now. So, thank you very much. Hope you guys have a good evening.
Oh, my Lord. It was so much information, and I was just like, what?